Well, I chose that song today because I guess Spirit wanted it, because that's what I'm going to talk about. So, what does it take to be fearless so that we live our truth? I mean, it's right in the title, fearless. You know, we're always told by many wise books that we are choosing between love and fear all the time. When we're not living our truth, we most likely are coming from a place of fear. And that fear shows up with many faces. It can be doubt, anxiety, concerned about the future, worried about something in the past. It shows up in many, many ways. So we don't actually think of it as, that we're being fearful. But if there's even doubt, and I've spoke about this before, under doubt is fear. So how do we stay in the moment? It takes a lot of vigilance. It takes a lot of practice. We have to be committed to ourselves, nobody else, but to ourselves. And if we believe that there is a higher power that loves us and that is willing to guide us if we allow it, then there's nothing to fear. But that's a tough one, because we look about ourselves and out into this world, and all we see is chaos and fear consciousness. And whether we like it or not, we are actually affected by that. We can't get away from it, because there is that thing such as mass consciousness. And I don't know about you guys if you've ever experienced this, but there are times that thoughts pop in my mind out of nowhere. And I know they're not my thoughts. Have you had that experience? You know that is not your thoughts, because you don't think that way. Just for an example. It's when the more we travel this enlightened path of ours, this spiritual journey, the more light that we take on, the more often that these things can happen, where a thought will pop into our mind and we say, wait a minute, where did that come from? That's not me. And we have to realize that that's some of that mass consciousness bleeding through. It could be somebody in the other room. It could be somebody across the street. It could be somebody on the other side of the world coming through, because we are becoming more sensitive the more we travel this spiritual journey. And it's so important to never, never go into doubt and fear. It's crucial to our well-being, because the moment we do that, the ego likes to have our mind race back over the past or jump forward into the future and start thinking about what could possibly happen out there. It has been said many times, and I know you've heard it many times, the past does not exist. It's not here anymore. The future hasn't happened yet. So the only thing that's real, the closest we can get to reality, is this very present moment, this now moment. And if we can step into that now moment, that's where there's no fear. You're not anticipating anything. And you're not chewing over anything from the past, anticipating the future and chewing over the past. There's no guilt. There's no nothing. In this very moment, if you can close your eyes and enter it, there is nothing there. And that's when you can allow that universal love, that Christ consciousness, to envelop your heart. That's where we feel safe and loved. So if we want to be fearless and live our truth, that's where it begins. We have to be vigilant. We have to be committed. We have to practice. We have to close our eyes, go into that space within ourselves, and connect with the only thing that's real and true. And the more often we do that, then when we open our eyes and we come out here, then we can start living from our truth, because you've made that connection and you can bring it with you now. If you don't practice, I mean, it's just like, okay, you know that saying, if you don't move it, you lose it. It's the same thing. You don't use it, you don't have it. It's there, but you're not aware of it. And you feel like you're void of it because you're not using it. You're not practicing. So we have to be devoted to ourselves. I love that song. You know, I'm getting wiser every day. You know, the mistakes we've made in the past, they only make us wiser. We know that's true. We know that's true. And the thing that's hard is to say, you mean I'm going to look in the mirror and be proud of what I see? Tough one. It wasn't too long ago that, on a much deeper level than I've ever experienced it before, I could see myself after having done something where I wasn't so pleased with myself. I got angry about something, and I had wished I hadn't. And I was able to see myself in my mind's eye and go to her and put my arm around her and tell her how precious she is and how much I love her. And you want to know why? She is precious. She deserves love. She was aware that she wanted something better. Make sense? There is no right, wrong, good, or bad that exists in this world outside of our thinking. So if we can let go of those right, wrong, good, and bad, then we realize that we can just be in the moment and we can be aware that it's human. You know, I got angry, but I was aware that that's not what I wanted for myself. And it's that awareness that brings about the dedication to practice, to bring myself back into that inner sanctum of my heart and to rest there with that Christ consciousness within me so that I can move forward, as the song says, move forward without guilt, without shame, because there is no right or wrong. There's just experience. And we learn from it. And we've got to be proud about that. We have to look in the mirror. We have to be proud of ourselves that we are seated where we are right now because of everything in the past that we've learned from. And we're open right now. We're wanting to be better. We're wanting to grow. We're wanting to evolve spiritually. So the first thing, fearless to say, if I knew who walked beside me, fear would be impossible. If we knew that the Christ, if we knew that that consciousness was here, beside us, above us, below us, within us, and that the Holy Spirit is leading the way, if we knew how many masters walked beside us, how many of the saints, how many of the master teachers walked beside us and have our back, fear would be impossible. And that's what we have to think about. Anytime a fearful thought enters our mind, think about that. You're not alone. You've never been alone. You can't do anything alone because you are part of a greater whole. So it's time to throw fear out the window and start living our truth by becoming more fearless, willing to look at these things and say, okay, so what? So that happened. So that happened. Life is experience. And it's what we make of the experience that either sits us in hell or raises it up to heaven. The choice is ours. The choice is ours. Where do we want to be? Do we want to live from our truth? And our truth is that we're pure love. And the truth is that we love everyone and everything. But we're talking about from that higher place of consciousness, not this mundane, everyday dwelling here on this physical earth, where we can get angry with somebody and forget the higher place in which we can visit often, where when we are there, we know that we love everyone and everything, and everyone and everything loves us. If we were created by love, and it was love that created us, there's nothing else that exists. So we can be fearless. And we can live our truth from that knowledge. And, don't take this place seriously, because this place is full of bananas. I mean, really, I mean, if you look out about you, you will see chaos everywhere. You will believe, you will see things that make you want to doubt your beliefs, that, people are living from a place of fear. There's conspiracies and there's this and there's that. And it's enough to drive you mad, and it doesn't matter what you choose. That's your free will. God gave us free will. It doesn't matter what you choose. You can't make a mistake. You can only learn. So what you think is a mistake is only a learning opportunity. And even with our health, when things go awry with our health or our physical bodies, it's a learning opportunity. It's a growing opportunity. Are we going to move through it with grace? I mean, we all know that there's certain things that exist out there. We're trying to rise above the seeming reality of them, such as, DNA. Your mother had arthritis, so you might have arthritis now. We have all that going on that we're dealing with. But when we're fearless, we do our best to move through it with grace. And we don't forget the truth of our being. And we live from that truth. My mother was a fabulous example. She suffered with great pain every day. She had rheumatoid arthritis and she suffered. And then she had a stroke. And she could not do anything for herself. They had to put her in I forget, it's like a hoist, and lift her out of bed. And they had to change her like a baby and take care of her. And I used to cry my heart out watching that, because my ego was saying, I don't think I could bear that, what she's going through. I don't think I could do that. That's doubt. That's questioning again, thinking there was something wrong with what she was going through. But I have to share with you that nursing home, those people loved my mother. She could not speak. She could only smile and wink her eye at them. They loved her so much. She was the nursing home sweetheart. And she was an angel. And I think I've told you this before. It was an unbelievable number of people from that nursing home that came to the funeral home. because they loved her so much. I have to tell you, my mother was fearless. And she lived from that place. And she touched everybody's life by living her truth, even through that disability of hers that she suffered at the end. She lived her truth. She could only smile and wink, and that lit up everybody's heart. So you see, it doesn't take much. It just takes showing up authentically. And you cannot do that. We cannot do that if we're fearful. So let's put on our big girl and big boy panties and say, we're ready. We're ready to be fearless. We're ready to live our truth. And from that place, and whenever there's doubt, you know where to go within this inner sanctum of your heart. Get back to that core. Get back to that Christ within you. Get back to that beauty and that love. Thank you. I love you all. Amen.